Going on, guys? Grant here to do my breakdown of UFC Fight Night 100 Vegas. Prates versus Magny. Great night of fights tonight for an Apex card. A bunch of finishes. I think the first 5 fights were all finishes. So a lot of good fights, a lot of good performances. A lot of big favorites this card as well. Tried to go with some dogs. Ended up getting burned, but it is what it is. Don't want to be one of those cowards who all they do is pick favorites every card. So all in all, good night. Went 8-3. 8-3 on picks. 3-0 on main event picks so far. So hope to keep that rolling maybe next week. Might be picking Stipe. I'll do a little bit more research on that. Probably put out a video later this week, but let's get started here. First fight of the night was Melissa Mullins versus Claudia Segula. Good fight. Went kind of how I thought it was going to go. Melissa Mullins is just the better grappler all around. I think she's a several-time IBJJF grappling jiu-jitsu champ. I know Claudia Segula, she's only like a purple belt in grappling, and saw her get controlled a lot on the regional scene and dominated, honestly. But Melissa Mullins, off to a slow start, giving up her back against the cage, ended up reversing position, getting a takedown, doing damage, winning round 1. And then second round, pretty much a lot of the same. Took her down, kind of pinned her wrist, and just started landing huge punches, and ref stepped in and stopped it. So good performance by her. Curious to see where she goes from here, but Claudia Segula is not the greatest opponent in the world, so I guess we'll just have to see. But next fight was Tresean Gore versus Antonio Tricoli. Was going back and forth on this one. Antonio Tricoli got some decent wins, huge for the division. But when I was going through his fights, he just doesn't seem to really put anything together. No offense, anything like that. Just kind of folded against Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore got him against the fence, got that guillotine that he's known for, and damn near popped his head off with the guillotine. So good performance for Tresean Gore. Again, he's only 5-2. Seems like whenever he fights any decent competition, he struggles or he gets knocked out by Cody Brundage, which is awful. But good performance. Quick start to the fight card. Honestly, there was a lot of frustrating breakdown and analysis. It seems like even though the fights go fast, they've got to fill up the time slot somehow. So, but it is what it is, I guess. Next fight up was Damon Blackshear versus Cody Stamann. I thought Cody Stamann was going to have a little bit more for him. He just stood on the outside, threw a few kicks, almost got knocked out with that flying knee once or twice before he actually ended it. But then, Blackshear lands the flying knee, hits him with a 2-piece combination, gets a really deep choke. What was it? I think it was a mounted guillotine choke. Cody Stamann does just enough to stay alive, but then ends up getting out of it, straight into getting his back taken, and Damon Blackshear locks in a super tight guillotine choke. So good performance by Damon Blackshear. Should have went with him. I mean, Cody Stamann, 5'6" against Damon Blackshear's what is he, 5'10", 5'11". So Damon Blackshear just looked like he was an entire weight class bigger than him. And just out-muscled him, athleted him, essentially. But we'll see where he goes from there. But I think Cody Stamann's done. Again, he only loses to top-tier competition. So maybe Damon Blackshear is somebody to look out for. But I guess we'll just have to see. Up next was Charles Chuck Buffalo Ratke versus Matthew Stand Against the Cage and Get Hit in the Face Semmelsberger. I thought Semmelsberger was going to have a lot more success than he did. I thought he's going to be the bigger guy. Ratke, he's 5'9", used to fight down at 155, Semmelsberger could never make 155. But it looked like Semmelsberger didn't know, never been in a fight in his life. Just kind of stood there, trading with his chin up. I mean, there's only a couple combinations in that entire fight, and he just kind of got clipped. I think it was the left hand got clipped along the cage in one of those combinations. Fell forward on his face. Ref stopped in. I can understand, but it wasn't a complete fall on your face. He just kind of fell on his knees. Wish the ref would have given him a chance to shoot for a takedown there. Let him shoot for a takedown. If he doesn't get it, gets stuffed to the ground, takes a few more shots, then you call the fight. But definitely think it was an early stoppage. Maybe I'm just coping because I thought that was a pretty legit underdog pick. But good for Ratke. 34 in the division. No spring chicken. Didn't take a lot of damage, so I'd love to see him come back, beginning of the year, January, February. Get back in there, maybe get a run going. So, because he's an entertaining guy, entertaining on the mic, entertaining fighting style. So, be look forward to see him in his next fight. Elizeu Zaleski versus Zach Scroggin. Zaleski was a huge favorite in this fight. Was originally supposed to fight Nicholas Dalby, which I thought was kind of a toss-up. Dalby definitely would have given him a better run for his money than Scroggin did, but Scroggin, props to him coming in, fighting a legend. Not a legend, but, a crafty veteran like Zaleski. Zaleski was just too good for him. You could tell from the beginning Scroggin was just kind of tentative on the feet. Even my wife was saying that. She was like, he just looks scared. He looks timid. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. He missed weight, so he wasn't ready. I know he fought a couple months ago, but was just kind of brought in to save the fight for Zaleski. He was a huge underdog. Just really didn't get anything going. Cowering on the ground as soon as Zaleski got position. My favorite part of the fight card was he's literally face down, covering up, taking punches to the arms, taking punches to the face, and Bisping's yelling, he's defending well. And I'm just like, that is just quintessential Bisping comments, quintessential UFC commentary. Usually, not on these cards usually, maybe the pay-per-views when you've got Rogan and Cormier on there, but I thought that was pretty funny. But sucks for Scroggin. Hope he gets another chance in the UFC. He did step up on short notice, but he had fought just tons of cans on the regional scene. I think he fought like a 40-year-old man in his last fight before the UFC and wasn't able to put him away. So didn't have a lot of high hopes. I thought maybe with the opponent change he'd have a little bit more success because Zaleski was having to switch up an opponent as well, but didn't see much from him. It really doesn't prove anything for Zaleski. This isn't really the performance of the fight that he wants, being 37 in a very competitive division like 170. So you want to see him taking top-notch fights like against the Nicholas Dalbys of the world, the up-and-comers, to really kind of stake his claim for a top 15 position. But it is what it is. At least he got in there, got a paycheck, and hopefully Scroggin gets another chance. So he's from Kansas, so I was hoping all the two Kansas guys and Miles Johns, he got scratched from the card too, but oh well. Moving on, we've got Denise Gomez versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. This went exactly how I thought it was going to go. Denise Gomez, too young, too good, too much power in her hands, too good to take down defense. She just kind of controlled the fight on the feet the entire time, landing the bigger strikes on Karolina, landing flush head kicks that Karolina was eating, which was surprising, but kind of just beat her everywhere. Clear decision on her part. Not really sure where Kowalkiewicz goes from here. She's been around the game for so long. I know a lot of these fighters look up to her. I know Gomez even spoke about that, but not sure what's next for her. But Denise Gomez definitely great performance coming off of her last against Mora. Next fight was Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dusko Todorovic. I know Malik's a monster. He was a D1 wrestler for a few years, transitioned into MMA. Crazy power in the hands, crazy ground and pound. We saw that against Wes Schultz in the Contender Series. And we saw that tonight against Dusko Todorovic. I'm never going to get that name right. Like I said, crazy power on the feet, tagging him on the feet, gets to the ground. Dusko's rolling for legs. Don't roll for legs in MMA. If you're fighting a guy like Malik, who's got that wrestling base and who's got that power in his hands, and he was just teeing off on him on the ground. Eventually gets the TKO in round 1. But I was worried that Todorovic, with his decent striker, with his wrestling background, I was afraid that he might, fraud check Malik. I know Malik hadn't been very far into fights. A lot of his fights ended in the first round, second round, so I wasn't sure if Dusko could use his experience and his cardio to take it into the later rounds and potentially squeak out a decision or get him tired and TKO him. But again, great performance by Malik. I think if he keeps going the way that he's going, he could be a definite problem in the middleweight division. Reminds me of a young Bo Nickel with good striking and dangerous on the ground. So let's hope he fights more than once a year, unlike Bo Nickel. So that'd be great. But moving on is Jillian Robertson versus Luana Pinheiro. I was worried about this one. I knew Jillian has improved in her striking, and I know that she's the much better grappler, but I was afraid that Luana would be dancing on the outside, stinging her with punches in and out, defending takedowns enough to win 2 or 3 rounds, which is damn near what she did. She got out grappled round 1. Round 2, she was stinging her with punches. She definitely won round 1, and then round 3 again, Jillian kind of took over with the grappling. So I know Jillian's a problem. She's still young in the game. She's got great grappling, but she's got to shore up that gap, which is her striking. It's a definite hole for a lot of these other fighters to take advantage of. I think one of the refs gave all rounds to Jillian. I don't know how you give her round 2 just on damage, but that's UFC judging. Must I say more? Next fight was Gaston Bolaños versus Cortavius Romius. This fight really pissed me off. I did my research on this fight with Romius. He looked like he's kind of like he fights like a bat out of hell from the beginning of the fight, throwing big punches, shooting for takedowns, mixing it up. In this fight, he just looked like he was too afraid of Bolaños' power on the feet. Got some big slams. I was saying this to my wife during the fight. I was like, he needs to stop focusing on slamming the guy so hard to the ground. Put him on the ground and control him. Put him on the ground, do some damage. Got him on the ground a few times and just made stupid low IQ moves. Lost position several times on the ground, would fall back to his back and accept on bottom position. I know he's great with arm bars. He's landed a lot of those, got close in the first round, but it's just like you can't win MMA fights off your back. And you sure shouldn't be losing off your back in a grappling contest with a pure Muay Thai striker. So very frustrating performance. Turns out Romius is shit at fighting. Maybe he'll get another shot. Maybe he won't. Who cares? Honestly, call me salty. So very frustrating performance there. Speaking of frustrating performance, Reinier de Ridder versus Gerald Meerschaert. You would think that de Ridder had never taken a striking class his entire life looking at this fight. Gerald Meerschaert is not known for his striking ability. He's knocked a few guys out, but when you think of GM3, you don't think scary on the feet. You think stud on the ground, tough as nails, durable. And he was just piecing up de Ridder the entire fight. I think it was halfway through the first round, de Ridder's face is turning red. He's breathing hard. He's beat up. And then he all of a sudden lands a left hook on GM3 into the first round, which I think won him that round. I think that kind of changed the course of the fight from there. I think GM3 was thinking, man, I can keep it standing. I can go to my grappling if I have to, but if I can keep it standing, I can beat this guy up. Second round, more of the same. Kind of a grappling heavy fight, probably boring for some people. I enjoyed it just because I know how high level both these guys are. So a little bit more of the same. Round 2, round 3 comes around. GM3, you can just tell he's getting tired. As soon as Reinier gets top position, gets that head and arm choke, you can tell he went for kind of a little defense, knew he didn't have it, tapped out. So sucks for GM3. I feel like he keeps getting these young and up-and-comers, kind of like Neil Magny. Definitely the gatekeeper of the middleweight division. Sucks to see him lose again. I think this was definitely a winnable fight the way that it was going before he got dropped round 1. Ranier de Ritter, no joke, come over from 1. The guy just got 0 striking. I mean, I saw him before in his other fights. He had good knees in the clinch, this and that, but you see him against people like Anthony Malikin, who are just savages on the feet, and he just gets destroyed. And there's a lot of savages in the middleweight in the middleweight division in the UFC on the feet. So I just don't know. At his age, 34 years old, like, he's not going to make tremendous gains in his striking. So I bet with the money the UFC's paying him, they'll give him some favorable matchups to where he's fighting, decent strikers, decent fighters, but I don't really see him cracking the top 10 at all. But good addition to the division. Next up, final fight was Carlos Prates versus Neil Magny. Carlos the Nightmare Prates. What a perfect name for this guy, because he is an absolute fucking nightmare on the feet. Was worried at the beginning. Neil Magny was, tying him up, getting him against the fence. So I was like, this is a good game plan. Tire him out, get some blood in those shoulders. Maybe he won't have much pop on his shoulder. Maybe he won't have much pop on his punches later in the fight. And it's no, not at all. Carlos Prates shaking out of the clinch, getting back into the middle of the octagon, just pressuring, cornering Neil Magny. Neil Magny looked like a professional wrestler going bar buckle to bar buckle towards the end of that first round. Just getting kind of pushed around and bullied by Carlos Prates. Eventually, Carlos Prates backs him up in the cage. I think he throws a 1-2 and just clips Magny right behind the ear, kind of on the temple, and just drops him face first into the canvas. So, great performance by Carlos Prates. Nobody flatlines Neil Magny like that, so kind of impressive. But then it's Neil Magny, so it's not really that impressive. But I think he's off to like a 4-0 start to the UFC. Which is really impressive. 4 finishes in your first 4 fights within a year of the UFC. Like, guy's gonna be a star. He speaks English. That's awesome. Speaks English, but I would like to see maybe a better call out than Jack Della Maddalena. Like, bro, you're not even in the top 15 yet. It's just a very Walking Buckley-esque call out when he called out Conor McGregor. It's just like, man, you're not gonna get that fight. Like, that's like, call somebody out that's going to get you higher in the rankings that people want to see. But then he did kind of save himself and called out Jeff Neal, which I think is a great fight. Jeff Neal he just fought RDA, won by RDA blowing his knee out. So he didn't take a lot of damage. I'm sure he's looking to get back in there soon. He's not the youngest guy on the roster. So I'd like to see that fight. I think Jeff Neal's ranked number 10. Prates is probably going to be 15. 4-0, all finishes. There's no reason that Jeff Neal shouldn't be fighting him. January, February, something like that. So, again, it was a great night of fights. Seemed like a short night. Had a bunch of fights fall out. Had a bunch of finishes. I think it was like 6 finishes, 6 first round finishes. Can't talk. But again, great night. Went 8-3. Would have went 10-1 if I picked all the favorites, but what's the fun in that? Thought I had some good dogs. And who were my dogs? Semmelsberger and both of my dog picks got the shit beat out of them, so that kind of sucks. So, but other than that, good night of fights. Looking forward to next week's fight in New York City with Stipe and John Jones. Shocked that Stipe is a 6-1 underdog in that fight, so do a little bit more digging into that one, but I got a good feeling that Stipe is going to have a lot more for John Jones than people think. So, but thanks for watching, guys. 8-3 on this card, 10-3 on the last one, puts me at 18-6 last 2 cards. So not too bad, not too shabby. 3-0 run on main events, going to make it 4-0 next week, hopefully. So appreciate it, guys.